incredible, right? You do it once, no problems. You start recording, all hell breaks loose. Frustrating. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I got roughly, well not roughly, less than a month ahead of me to complete Bob. And there's a million of things that have to be checked, replaced, repaired, and so forth. I've already completely dismantled my front subframe. It's all ready to be sandblasted and reinforced with welds and so forth. So I'm in the process of preparing myself for putting everything back together. The first thing I'm tackling regarding the front subframe is my tie rod bars, and these are the standard ones. These are as they came out of Bob. Pretty crooked, not worth any time or effort in repairing them. I'm just going ahead and replacing them. And I'm replacing them with the heavy duty type, which is also adjustable, which is a proper upgrade, and it's going to set my mind at peace while driving through I'm really not sure what terrain. To compare the two, look at the difference in thickness between the standard tie rod bar and the reinforced one. It's a pretty straightforward job actually. Since these are adjustable, the new ones, I'll just undo them, and that's why I've connected the two together. So I have the same centers from the bolt where they attach on the lower arm, and you just undo them till you get the same height between the old one and the new one, because I have no intention of doing any exotic fancy setups on Bob. I just want him standard and I want him reliable, and I'm pretty much there. Now we've got to lock it in place. Yep. Done. I got my standard length tie rod now. An upgrade I'm using, which I fell in love with, and this follows an advice from a viewer of mine, Dimitri. So Dimitri, thank you so much for this. I was not aware of this company called Pro, and they make and provide a full set for a complete car of polyurethane type bushings, and they come in this super sexy package designed and engineered in Australia, and it's blue stuff as opposed to orange or red that we're used to for poly stuff, and they are basically probably the best quality I have laid my hands on regarding rubber stuff on a classic Mini. And they come with their own Super Pro lubricant, and it's beautiful stuff. And I got me an entire set for every single bush joint on the car, and I'm happy. Okay, and applying some of that super sexy Vaseline they have in there. Oh yes, baby. Then you got the washers on, which I need to clean because I didn't do a good job in preparing myself, so I forgot to clean these. So a bit more work to do, but pretty much done for tie rods. The second part I'm doing for my front suspension is repairing my upper arm. So I got one already cleaned up, primed, painted, and I got my new shaft and bearings in here. Before I show you how I'm doing this installation, I need to say a huge thank you to a guy on YouTube called Lone Star Mini, who has come up with this ingeniously simple way of removing the old bearings out of the arm, because you would normally use a puller, a special puller for this job, which would be quite expensive. So I got the link to his video in the description below. So please, those of you doing this job, take a look at what he did. It's absolutely amazing. So in taking this apart, I realized that I had huge problems with my arms in terms of bearings. They don't look bad, but they're actually completely seized. The roller pins are solid, nothing spins or turns in there. And the price for that was paid by the shafts. You can see how badly they are marked by the roller pins on both ends, top and bottom. So this is trash, basically, and that's what a brand new one is supposed to look like. That's what it should be like, not like this one. So yeah, gaskets are absolute crap. So they both needed a bit of attention, so to speak. Now, in installing bearings and the shaft in, I know most people like to get their new bearings, put them on the arm, and then just bang them in with the socket. It's never a good thing to bang a bearing in place, especially these ones that are quite sensitive from what I saw. The lip of the bearing can be deformed very easily. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a very basic press using a bolt that's long enough to clear the body of the arm. And how the process goes is I got my piece of hose so as to make sure I don't damage, scratch anything while I'm doing it. And I'm sliding my new bearing over the hose. And I just feed that in there and very gently squeeze the bearing in place. And now because I have the hose, when I put the bolt in, I cannot do any damage to my bearings, right? So, one washer. I'm using the old bearing to push the new one in because it needs to go in deeper than this rim face, so to speak. So if I was just using the washer, it would just stop here. And I needed to go just a wee bit lower. So that's what the setup should be. Leave the hose exposed so you can just slide the bearing on, and it's dead center with the one underneath, the new one that we're trying to push in. So now you put your washers in. And let's put a bit of grease. Hold on, I'm getting this Vaseline from Super Pro, which will work the same. I just want to make it easy for the bearing to go in there. And on the other side, I'm using an old washer that came out from the old set. And you get a nut, which is the wrong way in. And using my two spanners, I can now drive that in very carefully and very gently. Don't bang bearings, not okay. And it's as simple as that. Drive the new bearing in. And you're done. Get the old bearing out. There you go. Done. And flipping sides, because you don't want the bearing to be flush here, you want it to be a little bit on the inside. So here we go again. Rubber hose. as a guide, old bearing, in it goes. Get your washers, get your nut. Yep. There you go. In it goes. And a little bit more. Again, be gentle and pay attention to the feel of the spanner as you're tightening and going in. That's it. Done without running the risk of damaging the bearings. Moving on. Right. Part of the kit that I got me from Super Pro was basically all the bushes that one needs to complete the subframe, and that includes the round ones for the main bolts that hold the towers where the suspension cones go. And look at the state of mine. These are absolute excrement. And look at these nice little beauties I'll be replacing them with. Now I have to admit, the more I work with these, the more I tend to convince myself that Vegemite consumption apparently does have very beneficial effects to people, because this stuff is absolutely gorgeous. It's awesome to look, it's like the feel of it, the quality of this plastic or synthetic material, whatever it might be, is amazing. So highly recommended for anyone doing a front or a rear subframe job on their classic minis. And I'm so happy I'm doing mine. Look at the state of these top mountings. They're completely gone, sheared off. Bob's gonna be a super pro. My back hurts. Okay, last part of today's episode regarding front suspension has to do with lower arms, and I have this one in which I have already installed my Super Pro bushing. It comes in two parts instead of four, like the old design. So it has one continuous bushing in the middle, and the rubber one is one continuous item as well, instead of the split design that used to be the case with the originals that were basically cut in half. The downside of the split design was that they were able to pull each other apart, and they would give you slack on the arm. With the Super Pro, there's absolutely no way you can get that. If you look at my old pins through which the bushing goes, they are of the split type and they are rusted solid, completely seized up. So the pin was rusted solid to the metal bushings, and the metal bushings were solid to the rubber bushings, which meant that there was no way this could pivot, and the whole thing started to move in the frame. And I got me some pretty serious wear on the face. This side not that much, this one, the right hand side, is pretty rough, and I'm just hoping it has not destroyed the female sockets on the subframe, because I will have to do some very serious reconditioning there if possible. Installing the Super Pro bushing on the lower arm is a pretty straightforward procedure. You loop them up. There's absolutely no way you can push them in by hand. Don't even go into the thoughts of doing that. You need a press or a vise or something. Simple stuff, not a hydraulic press. A vice grip would do. So you put it in. You may or may not want to use a washer in between, and then you just press the bushing in and you're done. 5 minute job, and Bob's your uncle. This wraps up. Okay, this wraps up today's episode regarding front suspension stuff. I'm completely exhausted. I've been working on the car almost every single day, clocking in minimum 8 hours per day. And today is just not my day, I reckon. Nonetheless, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for sticking around. And I'll see you at the next episode where I'll be fiddling with my front subframe and I'll show you some upgrades and changes I'm doing on the subframe to make it easier to live with. Thank you very much. Take care of yourselves. See you at the next episode.